Football is for everyone, or at least it should be. As the nation's game, football has not always been the most welcoming of places, and from homophobic comments and chants from the stands to posts online, discrimination against LGBT people was, and still is, rife within our beautiful game. However, in recent years, campaigns such as Rainbow Laces and Football v Homophobia have raised awareness of the issues, and so in this film, I speak to some of the people here at Exeter City who have been working in the community to make football a more welcoming place for everyone. But first, let's hear from Will Barrett about the work of the ECFC Museum.
In 2020, the ECFC Museum partnered with Alan Quick of the club's One Game, One Community group to create the Football for Everyone exhibit at St James Park. Produced to support the Football versus Homophobia campaign in 2020, the exhibit focuses on the life and legacy of Justin Fashanu, who to this day remains the only elite player in English football to come out publicly while still playing the game. On display at the park are numerous items that chart the career of the powerful and enigmatic forward who chose football over boxing to feature for more than 20 different clubs, including Norwich City, Southampton, Notts County, and our local rivals, Torquay United. A trailblazer in every sense of the word, Justin also played 11 times for the England under-21s, and in 1981 he became the first black player to command £1 million transfer fee when he signed for Nottingham Forest. In 1990, Justin came out into a world where even his manager felt it acceptable to call him a bloody puff in public, and where attitudes in the media were less than sympathetic to his privacy and sexuality. Sadly, Justin took his own life in 1998, but his legacy and spirit lives on today, as the Justin Story campaign that was launched after his death has evolved into the Football versus Homophobia campaign that takes place in February each and every year. FVH is an international initiative that engages in campaigning, education, advice and guidance, research, policy consultation, and capacity building to make existing football structures safe, welcome, and inclusive for LGBT people at all levels of the game. The campaign was launched to challenge discrimination based on sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression at all levels in football. And on the 20th of February 2021, Exeter City will take part in our 12th FVH game when we play Grimsby Town at St James Park. Now an annual tradition and very much part of the modern heritage of Exeter City and clubs across the world, each season sees players warm up in FVH t-shirts to share the message, whilst last year Isker Apollo were honoured guests at the park as they took a lap of honour ahead of the game and displayed their flags on the pitch at half-time. Sadly, due to the current coronavirus restrictions, our usual activities will not be possible this year. And so Craig has met up with just some of the people here in Exeter who are working to improve the representation and visibility of LGBT throughout football and to realise the potential of football in society as a tool to create positive change.
How important is this campaign for people like me and you that work within a football environment?
I think it's really important. It's about making a statement about inclusion and diversity. So what we're trying to do is just raise the awareness of that and educate people, just make sure everybody's aware that not everybody's the same. There are people of different sexualities, gender, race, things like that. So it's just highlighting that.
I mean, looking at a local level and within Exeter City, obviously coordinator of the Proud Grecians, which is a really important organisation for LGBT and allies, Exeter City fans, isn't it? And you, just talk about a little about what you do.
Yeah, I started that a few years ago just to ensure that we've got an LGBT representation here. It was in July 92 that Justin Fashanu played here for Torquay United, and it was just that I was a friend of Justin's, so after he died I got a bit involved in various campaigns, the Justin campaign before FVH, Football v Homophobia, and Stonewall Laces, which Stonewall Laces started 5 years ago. So I've been involved in those campaigns and then brought some of that here to Exeter.
You mentioned Fashanu there. Obviously, I'm sure everyone's aware of the tragic circumstances with Fashanu and everything that happened in the late 90s. But I guess for you, it's a lot close to home. Talk about how you knew him and what he was like as a person.
He was a great guy. I was a DJ at Box's nightclub down on the quay. It was a dedicated LGBT night, and when he played for Torquay, he used to come along for those couple of years and be a regular actually, and enjoyed the night. So that's how we got to know each other. So we met socially as well. So yeah, he was a great guy, and sadly, you know, he was the first £1 million black player, but also he came out as well, and then tragically took his own life because of the homophobia and the racism and just other things that just he couldn't cope with. So that's how there's a lot of work around diversity in football, and that's why it's happened. So yeah.
And I guess in those situations in the late 90s as well, it was a lot more rife back then as it is now, but we know there's still a lot more work to be done.
Yeah.
In terms of homophobia at football, not just Exeter City, but at any game you've attended, have you experienced anything?
I haven't personally, but I know a lot of people have. We have had the odd incident here, and the officials here have been amazing. They've really dealt with it swiftly. The police have been fantastic. People have been reported, excluded, but it's so rare here. Exeter City's got a fine example of inclusion and diversity work through its One Game, One Community group. So it was just over 10 years ago that the One Game, One Community group, I was headhunted to actually join that group actually by a lady called Fran Jenkin, and she was a real campaigner, well-known campaigner in Exeter and for Exeter City, and she asked me to come along to the first meeting, but tragically and unbelievably she died before I actually met her. So I never met her. We had lots of conversations and emails, but I never met her. But she got me involved in the One Game, One Community group, and Martin Weiler and a few others have been actively keeping that group going, along with a whole load of us, and it's become a really strong group. And Simon Kitchen is now our chairman, and we do a lot of work, not just LGBT, but disability, women's football, promoting all the different strands. So that group really has brought the club, you know, on in leaps and bounds.
Let's talk about the Proud Grecians then, and I know you've had even in lockdown, you've had a busy time of it.
Yeah.
I mean, how's 2020 been for the fan group?
Well, the fans are really enthusiastic, let's put it like that, and Exeter City were doing really well, and we hope it continues. So let's keep going that way if we can. But yeah, we're quite a little group and doing quite well. You know, we've got a good social media presence. We're putting stuff out there, sharing things, and you know, it's had to go that way even more so during these lockdown periods and this coronavirus time. But yeah, it's a good little group, and we chat away on chats and things like that. So yeah, we're going well.
Elsewhere in Exeter, Isker Apollo FSC was founded in 2018 with the aim of providing a fun, welcoming environment for within the LGBT community who could play football in and around the city. Officially affiliated with ECFC through the City Community Trust, I caught up this week with founder member Lewis Bell-Cathwra.
I'm from the West Country originally, but I moved to London and I played for Bexley Invictus when I was living there. Then when I came back to Exeter, I was fed up of going to watch football on my own in the pub, because I didn't have that community that I had sort of when I was in London. So I just wanted to meet social side of it, just meet some friends that wanted to play football, but also want to go down the pub or go down the ground to watch it as well. So yeah, I just put a little post out on Facebook just to see if anybody would be interested in starting an LGBT football team. someone messaged me back like instantly and said, yeah, let's meet up later on today. So we met up, had a drink, and sort of founded it from there, really. We didn't know what we were doing, if I'm being totally honest. It was kind of, we went in blind and we're like, okay, let's make a football team, shall we? None of us had experience of doing it before, so it was kind of like, what do we need to do now? But yeah, that's why it was founded, really, just to try and create a safe space, but also just a sociable space where people are within our community can play football, and also help people that hadn't had the opportunity to play football before as well. We've got people of all sort of levels. Some have never kicked the ball in their life. Some haven't played football because they were either bullied at school or just felt that because they were lesbian or gay, they didn't have the confidence to play football. So that's why it was created, to give them that confidence again.
And how quickly have you been able to build the team? I mean, how many members do you have now?
If we get rid of COVID, because obviously it's kind of, at the minute, there's sort of nothing sort of happening. But like before COVID, we had 29 signed up members, mixed of people from LGBTQ community. We also have allies in the team as well. It's quite a mixed bag. Like I said, all different levels of experience as well. Yeah, it grew very quickly. I guess we're at a stage now where we want to start to play more competitively. Like we've had a few, but it's trying to get the commitment to be able to sort of go for away games, because we're part of an LGBT football league, but most of the games, well, all the games are played north of Exeter. So it's just being able to travel.
Do you feel that, you know, part of the reason you wanted to start an LGBT football team is because you felt like perhaps a standard Sunday league team wasn't the right environment?
I get it, it's more the, like, I think every new environment you put yourself into, you feel like you have to come out every time. I was just fed up with that, and 9 times out of 10, other major, like non-league on a Saturday or Sunday, they'd be absolutely fine with it, but there could always be that one that wasn't, that makes it awkward and not great for you. But my main reason was because I knew how much confidence and friendships it brought me when I lived in London. Like when I moved to London, I knew nobody, and the football team gave me that community, and that's what I wanted to create in Exeter. It's just a space where we have that community. I don't think it ever crossed my mind just to join, I don't want to say a normal team, but a normal non-league, like Sunday league team.
What sort of experiences of homophobia have you come across since before you started the team and since within football?
Before, because I never felt I could play football. I thought I wasn't allowed to play football because I'm gay and gay people don't play football. So I never really had any homophobia within football, because I never put myself in the situation to start with. Yes, when I went and watched, I'm a Man United fan. Apologies if you don't like that. Obviously, I used to live in Manchester, so I went to Old Trafford on a regular basis. I worked there as well. You would hear like comments and stuff. It was never aimed at me, but you would still hear comments that they would shout about certain players, and stuff like that. Like, yeah. So I've never had any of it directed at me within sport. Outside of sport, yes, but within the football, I've never had any thrown against me.
Of course, we're having this chat because it's with the Homophobia Month, and we've also got the Rainbow Laces campaign that we saw at the tail end of last year. How important are these campaigns? Because they do seem to make a difference, don't they?
They make a massive difference. Even like last year when we went and we did a lap of Exeter City's ground at half time with our flag, and we got a standing ovation. It was quite, I won't say emotional, but it was emotional because it was the first time that we probably felt as a club that we were a proper team now. And it was because of Football v Homophobia initiative that was allowed to happen. And I think it also gives that the people that are younger, that may think that they're gay, or they may think that they're lesbian or bi or trans, seeing the fact that these events are going ahead, that they can actually see at the end of the day, they might actually be able to play football. And hopefully it will stop them thinking when they get to the age of 12 or 13, right, I need to stop football now and try and find a gay route and what I'm going to do. But I think that's the biggest impact that it's hopefully going to be having. And it just starts that conversation. Because like we had people of all ages coming up to us, asking if they can have pictures with us, asking us about the club. And it would never have happened without these initiatives. And I think they need to continue with it. I think it can only get bigger and better now. And I'm just glad that it's given us as a club a platform to be able to hopefully help some people that might be a little bit lost with who they are at the moment.
How important do you feel that it is that the clubs such as Exeter City back these campaigns and back their local LGBT football teams?
Yeah, I'll be honest, but without Jamie and Exeter City, we wouldn't have been where we were today. The support we've had, even from as much as when it was our first year birthday, we have videos from the team sent to us and things like that. It gives us a platform. It gives us a bit of confidence as well that what we're doing is the right thing to be doing. You sometimes need that from a bigger organisation to say, actually, what you're doing is fantastic. Keep doing it. We'll back you and support you wherever you need it. And I think more and more clubs, like professional clubs like Exeter City, need to be supporting their LGBT teams as much as they were when women started to play football initially and stuff like that, like when they helped them and things. So I think it just needs to. I think every club needs to be supporting it more. I think there's more ways that they probably can. And not make it just a month or an event happening at like one match. But everything that we've had from Exeter City has been phenomenal support from the fans as well. Like the fans have been brilliant. And this has given us a way for us to grow more as well. Like we've got a bigger reach now because we're affiliated with Exeter City. And hopefully it will mean that there may be some Exeter City fans that might not feel they can play football, but if they see that we're there, they can come along and join us and continue their football.
I guess this last question is probably a hard one to answer in the current situation, but what's the future hold for Exeter Apollo? What's in the pipeline? What are you planning?
The plan is to keep growing. We want the GFSM, which is the football league that we're sort of part of. We want to eventually be a full member of that and play within the league. At the moment, like previously, we've just done the cups and some of the tournaments, but the plan will be to play on a regular basis, and to try and get as many sort of friendlies in as possible as well. We need experience on the pitch because that's where we're sort of struggling at the moment. We're training, we're doing our practicing and stuff like that. But once you get on the pitch, it's a whole different ball game for everybody because lots of them haven't ever played it competitively. So that's our main goal, is to just try and get as much competitive game as possible. And then hopefully win some cups in the future. We'll see.
Quickly then, how can people get in touch with you if they're interested?
So we've got a Facebook page, which is Exeter Apollo FSC. We've got Instagram and Twitter. We have got a page on Exeter City Community Trust website as well. So all of our contact details are on there. I'm chairman and one of the founding members, so anyone feel free to message me as well. Anywhere at all.
We of course here at Exeter City are proud to be an inclusive club, not just with our supporters but with our staff as well. Both myself and our videographer Caitlyn Elsworthy are proud members of the LGBT community, and I caught up with Caitlyn to discuss her experiences of homophobia and being openly LGBT in the beautiful game.
I've kind of come into it this season working it kind of professionally, so I've only ever previously to this kind of seen how fans have reacted on social media, etc., to like rainbow laces and things like that. and it seems like a genuinely more positive kind of experience now, I think, than it has been before. So, when I was younger, it's, encouraging seeing players, especially in big Premier League clubs, openly supporting it, like Henderson for Liverpool, which was, I think, a really important statement, title winning club captain kind of making a statement saying he supports LGBT. And even our own team have been kind of vocal in their interviews and saying if they're able to hear something on the pitch, for example, they're able to report it to a ref. But in terms of, I guess, staff as well, everyone's been, an eyelid is not battered. It's not, there's no discrimination towards myself or those of us, who are also LGBT. Overall, I'd say it's positive, but I think when you again go to the, catalyst of disaster, which is social media, that's when you kind of see these slightly bigoted views kind of coming out the woodwork, unfortunately. But in terms of actually working within professional football, people have been, again, like I said, very, very open and very welcoming, I think.
Do you think that these campaigns, such as Short Wolfie Homophobia and Rainbow Laces, are making a difference? And have you seen how they've been making a difference?
Yeah, I think for sure. I think I just touched on it slightly then, saying, the captains are obviously donning the rainbow armbands, captain bands, which is great because it's kind of a visual statement is always very impactful, I think, because, words are impactful, but visually seeing something is very like, okay, might not have noticed that before, might go and look up at that and read up on it. But yeah, I think slowly the attitude is changing. I think maybe it's always going to be slightly slower in the UK because of how football culture is. But, if you look at the MLS, you have openly gay players in America, which is really nice to see. Nice to see them being supported by their teammates when I think it was San Francisco, a player suffered homophobia, and the team who were actually winning, they walked off 3-0. I think they were 3-0 up and they walked off and refused to play because of the incident that had occurred. So I think there is change happening, and these events and these campaigns do seem to be making a difference.
And what do you think needs to happen for someone to come out in the UK?
That's a really difficult one because I think football is, again, it's got this reputation of being a man's sport, but then what is a man? What is a man's man? It's all boiling down to these kind of gender stereotypes and things that are deeply rooted within Western culture. And I think it is going to just take, probably just a brave player to come out, or they're going to need the support of their team. They're going to need support of fans, people that are even into football. We need LGBT community to stand up and support those kind of players. Because as soon as there's a rumour at the minute that there might be a gay Premier League player, the press will come for them and it won't be kind. And that's horrendous to see. So it is just going to be, I think, a case of rallying of arms, really. But these small changes, the attitude of captains saying in their dressing room that anyone is welcome in their dressing room and any player is of any kind of creed, that kind of attitude within the teams themselves is already probably changing attitudes throughout football, which is great.
Liverpool captain Jordan Henderson sharing with his millions of followers a picture of the rainbow armband is also a huge step. And of course, here at the park, we have the proud Grecians who continuously work tirelessly to represent the LGBTQ+ City fans. Senior players and the manager have also spoken about why inclusivity matters, and so I also caught up with our skipper Jake Taylor to talk about how we can make the game more inclusive in the modern era.
Do you think that campaigns like this, along with the Kick It Out campaigns, Black Lives Matter and all that, do they change the mindsets in the dressing room about banter and what's acceptable, and do these campaigns absorb into the players' minds?
I think definitely they do, yeah. I think from when I started playing professional football, 10 years ago or whatever it was now to how it is now, I think, the environment in the change rooms changed a lot to what you feel is, more acceptable to speak about. Like I said before, obviously it's important, people feel comfortable in their own environment and there's lots of campaigns going on at the moment which, are very important, and it's important for us footballers who, have a small platform in League Two to take these things very seriously and try and, make, everyone, realise how important it is to, get on board with these different things. So, I think footballers' mindsets over the last 10 years have definitely changed, and it's definitely been a positive reaction. I still think there's a long way to go, but I think it's definitely moving in the right direction.
As a captain, do you feel that is a role where you have the responsibility to be the leading voice within the team for inclusion and diversity?
I think so, yeah. That's definitely, my role and responsibility is to be a leader and, set a good example to others around me, whether that's, on the pitch, off the pitch, stuff like the rainbow laces, Black Lives Matter. It's important to set a good example, all the way around. So, from my stance, it's an extremely important campaign as the other one. So, yeah, it's important, like I said before, to educate, not only myself, but my teammates around me.
And as a player individually or in a group, have you ever received any training or any workshops on this particular issue about what is acceptable and again, like why the campaign is what it is?
For me personally, no. Nothing, no individual workshops out there. I mean, now you said it, probably, should be something out there that players go to and sort of, learn about. There's, I think, lots of people have different opinions on different things. So it would be nice for people to go along to some workshops, like you said, and, educate themselves in the correct way, and maybe open their eyes to some things which, maybe they don't feel comfortable about speaking, because I think it's a subject that lots of people may not feel as comfortable, speaking about it as others, which is life. But like I said before, I think life moves quickly, and it's important that, people sort of move along quickly with it, because, things are changing at the moment, and it's important that sort of people accept changes and go into it with a positive attitude.
If someone was watching this or listening to this, whether they're an Exeter fan or not, and they said that they felt that, attending games here wasn't for them, or in general wasn't for them because of their sexuality and how the culture at a football game makes them feel, what would you say to that, and what would you say to perhaps get them here?
I think, with Exeter, it's, a fantastic club to be at. It's a nice place to be. There's, I know there's going to be a small minority that, might think differently, but, it's lots of nice people. So, football has changed since, I started growing up. A lot more people, come to the game. It's an enjoyable experience, and it's a place where you can come and be comfortable and enjoy yourself in any environment you want to be at. I think football is definitely a release and a happy place for a lot of people. So, I would just say that come along, and hopefully you'll be in an environment where you feel you can enjoy yourself and be yourself.
Players like Jake, along with the effort and attitude here at Exeter City and elsewhere, are exactly what's needed in the game. We've come a long way since the experiences faced by Justin Fashanu, and today an individual's sexual orientation or gender identity should never be a barrier to participating in and enjoying our national sport. Football is and must always be for everyone.